The Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas. Voiced by Benita Mascarenas. The year was 1625. A young man named D'Artagnan was on his way to Paris to join the king's musketeers. The musketeers were bold, courageous soldiers who guarded King Louis XIII of France. D'Artagnan carried with him 3 gifts from his father: a purse containing 15 crowns of gold, a sword which had been in his family for generations, and a letter of introduction to Monsieur de Treville, the captain of the king's musketeers. As he rode towards Paris, D'Artagnan remembered his father's parting words. "My son," he had said, "I have taught you how to handle a sword well. You must never draw back from a duel. You must be brave for 2 reasons. You are a Gascon, and you are my son." But when he reached Captain de Treville's office, D'Artagnan was very disappointed. The captain said, "I'm sorry, D'Artagnan. Only those who prove to be the bravest of the brave can join the musketeers. But don't worry, I'll find you a job with Captain des Essarts of the Horse Guards," said Captain de Treville. "He is recruiting young men now, for war is about to break out between France and England. You could prove how brave a man you are." When D'Artagnan was leaving Captain de Treville's office, he bumped into a tall man who was coming into it. "You idiot!" cried the man. "Why don't you watch where you are going? You need a lesson in manners." "Maybe I could give you a lesson in dueling," said D'Artagnan. "When and where?" The man stared in surprise. "Behind the convent at noon," he replied. "Come prepared for death." It so happened that as he ran down the stairs and into the courtyard, D'Artagnan bumped into more men. They were angry and challenged him to duels. D'Artagnan, in a fit of temper, agreed. Later, as he walked down a cobbled street, D'Artagnan realized his mistake. "I'm really an idiot," he thought to himself. "I've been in Paris only 3 hours, and already I've set up duels that could easily kill me." It was almost noon, and D'Artagnan hurried to keep his appointments. He went to the convent grounds to fight, and was amazed to find that 3 men were waiting for him. They were the men he was to fight. One of the men spoke up. "I'm Athos. He is Porthos. And that's Aramis." D'Artagnan's eyes opened wide in surprise. "You are the 3 musketeers," he said. "Yes, as all Paris knows us. Our motto is 'One for all and all for one,'" said Porthos. "Now, young man, are you ready to take us on one by one?" "Yes," said D'Artagnan bravely, and drew his sword. But at that moment, Cardinal Richelieu's guards approached and ordered them under arrest. "You are the king's musketeers breaking the cardinal's law against fighting in public." The very next instant, swords flashed and a furious battle took place. D'Artagnan fought along with the 3 musketeers. The battle did not last long. Richelieu's guards fled for their lives. Athos shook D'Artagnan's hand and said, "You fought bravely. Thank you for helping us win." The King of France was forced to leave the running of his country to Cardinal Richelieu, a shrewd man of the church. When he learned of the defeat of the cardinal's guards, he scolded the musketeers in public, but congratulated them in private. He was delighted to see Richelieu embarrassed. King Louis XIII summoned the 3 musketeers and D'Artagnan to the palace to congratulate them. When he saw D'Artagnan, he exclaimed, "Why, you are only a young man! Yet you fought so bravely alongside my experienced musketeers. I must reward you. Here, take these 40 pistols. You will need this money as you are new to Paris." "Thank you, sire," D'Artagnan said, bowing, as he accepted the bag of gold coins. D'Artagnan settled down to the life of a cadet. For several months he trained enthusiastically and spent all his free time with the 3 musketeers. Yet, In spite of their close friendship, D'Artagnan learned very little about their private lives. One day, 3 months later, Monsieur Bonacieux approached D'Artagnan. He was the landlord who had rented D'Artagnan a small house. He took a letter from his pocket. "You have to help me, D'Artagnan," he said. "I know you are a brave man. I feel I can trust you with my secret. I received this letter last night." D'Artagnan read, "Your wife will be returned to you when she is no longer needed. Look for her, and you will be arrested." Bonacieux said, "My wife works as a lady-in-waiting to Queen Anne. Yesterday she was kidnapped while leaving the palace." "Do you know why?" asked D'Artagnan. "Our beautiful queen has given her heart to the great Prime Minister of England, the Duke of Buckingham. And he loves her too," said Bonacieux. "The queen confides all her secrets to my wife, Constance. I fear the cardinal is trying to learn those secrets. He is trying to lure the duke to Paris and trap him, just to disgrace the queen." As soon as Bonacieux had left, D'Artagnan met Athos, Porthos, and Aramis and told them of Monsieur Bonacieux's problem. Constance was being held a prisoner in an old house by Cardinal Richelieu's guards. With some information provided by the Three Musketeers, D'Artagnan tracked her down. When he reached the old house, he saw 2 guards at the front gate. He climbed the wall and quickly entered to the back door. He went up the stairs, opened the door, and went inside a large room. He stood gazing at Constance Bonacieux. She was very young and beautiful. She sat in an armchair and seemed to be coming out of a faint. "Ah, monsieur," she said, stretching her arm out to D'Artagnan. "You have come to save me." "Your husband asked me to find and rescue you," said D'Artagnan. "Oh, thank you," Constance whispered. "Please take me back to the palace. See that I get there safely." Without being spotted, D'Artagnan led Constance away from the old house and towards the palace. On the way, Constance stopped at a doorway and knocked 3 times. The door opened, and a foreign-looking gentleman came out. "D'Artagnan," said Constance, "meet the Duke of Buckingham." After Constance told him about D'Artagnan's daring rescue, the Duke said, "You are a brave man. Please protect us till we reach the palace." "Yes, my lord," said D'Artagnan. He led them to a side entrance of the palace until they disappeared through 2 heavy iron doors. Constance led the Duke up a dark staircase and into a small candlelit room. "Anne!" cried the Duke, falling to his knees in front of the Queen of France. Constance and D'Artagnan watched from the shadows. "Why have you come, my lord?" whispered the Queen, her face frozen in fear. "You knew that the cardinal was trying to trap you. You risked your life and my honor." "I had to see you, my love. It was worth any risk," said the Duke. "I am married to the king. I cannot disgrace him, though I do not love him." "Please leave," cried Queen Anne. She unfastened a ribbon from her neck. It was studded with 12 large diamonds. "Take this as a token of my love for you, my lord." Meanwhile, Monsieur Bonacieux had been arrested and taken to prison. "You and your wife are accused of plotting against France," said an officer of the cardinal's guards. "I know nothing, and my wife is innocent," pleaded Bonacieux. "I think the cardinal himself will want to speak to you," said the officer, and took Bonacieux to the cardinal's large house. "So, you are Bonacieux," said the cardinal. He was a fierce-looking man. Bonacieux shivered standing before him. "Did you know that your wife is helping the Duke of Buckingham to plot against France?" "No, monsieur," said Bonacieux in tears. Richelieu turned to the officer and said, "Take this guilty man away and hold him until I need him." As soon as the door had closed behind Bonacieux, Richelieu rang a silver bell. Seconds later, a tall dark man with a patch over his left eye appeared at the door. "Well, Rochefort," he said, "you have anything to report?" Rochefort was Richelieu's most trusted spy. "Well, Your Eminence, I have interesting news. The Duke was here in France, and he had met the Queen," said the spy. "I have further information. The Queen had given the Duke her ribbon of diamond studs as a token of her love. That should be of great interest to King Louis, since he gave her those studs on her last birthday." "Good show, Rochefort," said the Cardinal. "Those diamonds which are now in England shall be the Queen's downfall. I shall contact Milady de Winter in London. She's at the court quite often and is sure to see the Duke wearing the studs. I shall have her steal 2 studs and bring them to me." Acting upon the Cardinal's instructions, Milady managed to rob 2 diamond studs from the Duke. Richelieu was quite happy. He called on the king. "Your Majesty," he began, "the Queen seems rather unhappy lately, and I thought perhaps a ball might please her. She could wear the 12 magnificent diamond studs you gave her on her birthday." The king thought it was a splendid idea, but when the Queen heard that the king expected her to wear the 12 diamond studs, she gasped and turned pale. Later that evening, the Queen sent for Constance. "Do you know anyone who could journey to England and bring back from the Duke the diamond studs I gave him?" she asked. "Yes, I know the right man," said Constance. "His name is D'Artagnan." D'Artagnan readily agreed to help the Queen. "I'll ask my friends Athos, Porthos, and Aramis to ride with me." On the way, they were ambushed by the Cardinal's guards. The 3 Musketeers held them in battle, and D'Artagnan managed to press on, only to encounter Rochefort the spy. But Rochefort was no match for D'Artagnan's fine swordplay. Leaving Rochefort for dead, D'Artagnan managed to make his escape and reach the coast. He boarded a ship and crossed the channel. The next morning, the ship docked in Dover, and D'Artagnan set foot on English soil for the first time. On reaching London, D'Artagnan went straight to the palace of the Duke of Buckingham. He told the Duke the reason for his visit. "Good heavens!" the Duke exclaimed. "Oh, what a fix poor dear Anne is in!" He quickly approached a steel cabinet and took out a small wooden box. When he opened it, he uttered a cry of dismay. "Oh, 2 studs are missing! Oh, no!" he cried. "Only 10 are here! This is the Cardinal's work. One of his spies must have broken into this room and stolen 2 of them. But he'll not defeat me." He called the coat jeweler and asked him to make 2 diamonds exactly like the other 10. 2 days later, he gave the ribbon with all 12 diamonds to D'Artagnan. "Now only you can save the Queen, D'Artagnan," said the Duke. "Ride like the wind. Go back to France." The king's ball took place a week later. The Queen was wearing the diamond studs. "The Cardinal tells me that 2 studs will be missing," said the king. "Is that true?" The Queen smiled and said, "No, sire. See, I'm wearing all 12. This was because D'Artagnan had reached France safely. The king turned to the Cardinal and demanded an explanation. Being a shrewd man, Richelieu smiled and said, "I wish to present these extra studs to Her Majesty, but I did not dare offer them myself, so I chose to give them to her through you." The king smiled his approval. A couple of days after the ball, D'Artagnan met Milady de Winter. She was a beautiful woman. She wanted to take revenge on him, for he made her fail in her mission for the Cardinal. D'Artagnan was very sad. Even though he knew that Milady was a spy for Richelieu, he was very attracted to her. Athos came to D'Artagnan's room, and upon seeing the love-struck young man, he advised him not to have anything to do with Milady. "That woman is poison," he said. "Stay away from her." Then Athos made a confession. Look, D'Artagnan, I'll tell you my secret. Milady was my wife. After marrying her, I came to know that she was a thief and a spy. So I left her, hoping that I won't have to see her again in my life." Athos bent down his head. "I too was in love with her once. Now she's returned to haunt me. I'm telling you, she'll get you. She will never let you live. You must leave France immediately. Take my warning." D'Artagnan stood silently listening to what his friend had to say. He was shocked. A few days later, Athos, Porthos and Aramis and D'Artagnan knew of a new plan concocted by the cardinal. With the help of Milady de Winter, the cardinal was plotting to kill the duke. "I will kill the duke, your eminence, but you have to promise me something," said Milady. "What is that?" asked the cardinal. "I want you to get rid of D'Artagnan," she said with an evil smile. Athos knew that Milady was staying at an inn. He wanted to confront her before she travelled to England on her murderous mission. Athos entered the inn. He hurried up the stairs. He saw Milady putting on her hat. He entered the room and closed the door. When she saw Athos, Milady gasped. "What do you want from me?" stammered Milady, terrified. Athos took out his pistol and pointed it at her. "I heard that you want D'Artagnan dead. He's my friend, and if you dare touch a single hair on his head, I swear I'll kill you." Milady stood frozen with fear, looking at her former husband. A month later, there was news from England that the Duke had been killed. A few days later, Constance too was killed. Milady was caught and tried for the murders. She was executed for the crimes that she had committed. Captain de Treville called D'Artagnan to his office. "Well, D'Artagnan," he said smilingly, "I've been watching you from the day you came to Paris. Your bravery has saved many. France is indebted to you. And you fight like a true musketeer." He took out a parchment from a cabinet and handed it over to D'Artagnan. When D'Artagnan read it, he was moved to tears. "Why, sir, it's a commission as a lieutenant in the King's Musketeers," he said with joy. "Oh, sir, serving as a private in the Musketeers would be reward enough for me. I have 3 friends, Athos, Porthos and Aramis, who are much more qualified for a lieutenant's commission than I am," said D'Artagnan. Captain de Treville smiled and said, "It's yours. Keep up the good work." Later, D'Artagnan showed his commission to his 3 friends. They were very happy for him. "Congratulations, young friend," said Athos. "You have earned it. Welcome to the Musketeers."